One of the most popular chord progressions ever is the 1-5-6-4, like this in the key of C. This pattern is so powerful that it's used in hundreds of songs with billions of combined views. It's almost ridiculous. So in this video, we're going to look at the music theory behind the 1-5-6-4 progression so you know exactly why it sounds so good. And by the end, you'll know more about harmony than most people do. So for decades, really since the 1980s, these four chords have been used so often that some consider them a cliche, as the Axis of Awesome comedy group illustrated in their video, Four Chords. Looping through the same progression of 1-5-6-4, these guys overlaid the melodies from dozens of hit songs that all share this pattern. Like this small sample in the key of A, for example.
I'm your biggest fan, I'll follow you until you love me. Paparazzi, forever young. I wanna be forever young. With or without you, with or without you, she will be loved, she will be loved.
All of these songs and many more cycle through chords 1, 5, 6, and 4, and in every case, they all sound good. But why? What makes it so satisfying, and how might you use it in your own songwriting? To answer these questions, we'll use two useful patterns in music theory, the circle of thirds and the circle of fifths, which help to explain the power behind this pattern. So to begin, we'll start with the song With or Without You by U2, which is built entirely upon this one cycle of chords.
With or without you, with or without you,
To the ears, it sounds pleasing, although to the eyes, it's not obvious why these particular chords are used. 1, 5, 6, 4. What's the significance of these numbers? Well, first off, these four chords sound compatible because they all come from the same key, which in our example here is C major. C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished, or using their Roman numeral labels, major 1, minor 2, minor 3, major 4, major 5, minor 6, and diminished 7. These numerals simply refer to the scale degrees of their root notes in the key. So with C as the tonic, or interval 1, the scale degrees are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then to form chords from the scale, you just start on each scale degree, combining every other note in groups of 3 to get 7 harmonies. C major, the major 1 chord, starts on scale degree 1, and so on. That's what all of these numerals are referring to. But getting back to the question of 1, 5, 6, 4, why do we focus on these four chords specifically? And why do we rearrange their natural order of 1, 4, 5, 6 into the classic 1, 5, 6, 4 progression? Is this sequence random? It's definitely not random, but instead has to do with the way these chords function in relation to each other. And to illustrate, we'll use the circle of thirds. To see what I mean, take the table of chords we were just looking at and notice how each chord shares some of the same notes with others in this key. C major shares 2 notes with E minor, E and G. Likewise, E minor shares notes G and B with the G major chord, and so on. So to picture these connections more clearly, we can illustrate these same 7 chords like this, where C major overlaps with E minor overlaps with G major, etc. All in a single chain where in sequence the chords are 1, minor 3, major 5, diminished 7, minor 2, major 4, and minor 6 before the cycle repeats at major 1 again. And because this pattern repeats, we can actually wrap it into a loop like this to see how it cycles on forever. C major, major 1, overlaps with E minor, the minor 3 chord, which itself overlaps with G major, major 5, which in turn overlaps with B diminished, the diminished 7 chord. This chord leads to D minor, minor 2, which leads to F, major 4. F then overlaps with A minor, the minor 6 chord, which returns to C major, major 1 once again. In music, we call this loop the circle of thirds because the notes in each chord are separated by tertian intervals of major thirds and minor thirds, hence the name circle of thirds. And here's where it gets especially insightful, because within this harmonic loop, we can play the chords in any pattern, like in their sequence from 1 to 7, or in the 12-bar blues pattern using only chords 1, 4, and 5, or focusing on the popular 1, 5, 6, 4 progression. And the reason this pattern sounds so nice is due to the concept of chord function within the key. To explain, we can divide these 7 chords into 3 groups, where the harmonies in each group serve a different function. Chords 1, 6, and 3, traditionally speaking, sound more stable. The 1 chord is the tonic, or tonal home base, so it serves as a natural point of resolution in a song, while its relative minor, the minor 6 chord, sounds similar, sharing 2 of the same notes with the tonic, so it's considered a stable harmony as well, as is the minor 3 chord, which falls into this first group of stable chords in the key. Then over here, we have the major 4 and its relative minor, the minor 2 of the key, that together serve as chords of change, creating a sense of noticeable departure from the stable chords. And then these last 2 chords, major 5 and diminished 7, are traditionally more tense sounding chords in relation to the tonic, which create an audible feeling of expectation or desire to return to the tonic, that is, to resolve to the 1 chord once again. So looking at the 1, 5, 6, 4 progression, you can see how the pattern passes through these different functions. The 1 chord is stable, followed by the 5, which adds tension, wanting to resolve to the tonic again. But since that would sound fairly boring, after the tense 5 chord, the progression moves to the tonic's relative minor 6, another stable chord that feels similar to the 1, but is just different enough as a minor chord to keep things moving. Then the pattern advances to the major 4, a chord of change that leads to the tonic once more. So the sequence is 1, 5, 6, 4. Stability, tension, stability, change, which sounds good passing through these varied states of function. In other videos, I explained the structure of the circle of thirds in more detail and the connections between chords, like how the major chords share special links, while the minor and diminished chords have their own connections, and how different kinds of musical cadences work in the context of harmonic function. But the point here is that this 4-chord pattern sounds great, in part because of these harmonic functions. But you may ask, what about the other keys? So far, our example here has focused on the chords in the key of C specifically. But these relationships apply to all 12 keys, as you can see here, whether we're talking about the key of G, or the key of D, or A, etc. In every key, the 1, 5, 6, 4 sounds equally satisfying because these chords share the same harmonic connections, no matter which one becomes the tonic. In fact, to illustrate this consistency across all keys, we can use the circle of fifths like this, where all of the major chords are in this inner ring, all of the minor chords are in the middle ring around that, with each relative minor aligned with its relative major chord, and then all of the diminished chords around the perimeter. So in the key of C, for example, chords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are grouped like this, with the tonic straddled by 4 and 5, and 6 just above the 1. So in this configuration, the 1, 5, 6, 4 pattern is laid out like this, made from these 3 closely connected major chords along with the tonic's relative minor in the middle ring here. The cool thing about the circle of fifths is that it's consistent and symmetrical across all 12 keys. So to play our progression in any of them, all you have to do is shift over to that key, aligning the Roman numeral 1 with your intended tonic, and the progression is the same. Referring back to the Axis of Awesome and their 4 chords video, in reality, all of the songs in their mashup came from various keys, as you can see on the chord map here. They range across all 12 keys, but to merge them together, they just transposed the songs all to be in the same key so that the progressions would fit together nicely. Now, speaking of this video, I've included a link to it in the video notes. They included a total of 47 songs, which is amazing. But the truth is, they kind of inflated this number a bit by artfully weaving in some songs in a minor key that essentially follow the same pattern. While some use the standard major 1, major 5, minor 6, major 4, others use a pattern of minor 1, flat major 6, flat major 3, flat major 7. So what's the difference? Comparing, for example, U2's With or Without You in a major key,
With or without you, with or without you,
with the Cranberries' Zombie in a minor key,
in your head, zombie, zombie, oh.
You can hear and see the difference. While U2's tune resolves to the brighter sounding major 1, the song is about love, Zombie, a song about war, resolves to the darker sounding minor 1. Both of these Irish bands cycled through essentially the same chords to compose their respective hits, but each treated a different chord as the tonic or point of resolution, which you can see by rotating the different layers on the chord map. To get your own, see the link in the video notes. In U2's song, this major chord is the tonic, so the pattern is major 1, major 5, minor 6, major 4. And in the Cranberries tune, this minor chord is instead the tonic. So you just rotate the numerals to align this minor 1 here, and you get the sequence of minor 1, flat major 6, flat major 3, flat major 7. Same chords, but different functions based on which chord is the tonic in a given song. And this is the case in all of these songs, each in their own keys, following the same logic and patterns of music theory. So now when you hear or play songs that use these patterns, you know why they sound so good, based on the connections between these chords in both the circle of thirds and the circle of fifths. And of course, these progressions are only 2 in an infinite range of patterns that are possible in music. So thank you for watching. Please let the algorithm know if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.